Welcome to the channel, the American Civil War, an event that shaped the United States and still resonates with us today. It's one of the most talked about conflicts in history, yet many myths and misconceptions surround it. What really happened during this pivotal war? In this video, we'll reveal the truth behind the conflict that tore a nation apart, changed the course of history, and reshaped the future of freedom. Prepare to be astonished by what you thought you knew and what was hidden from view. Most people are taught that the Civil War was simply about slavery, but the truth is more complex. While slavery was indeed the central issue, the war was also about the preservation of the Union, economic power struggles, states' rights, and industrial versus agrarian economies. The Southern states felt increasingly threatened by Northern policies, particularly over tariffs and trade, while the North was adamant about keeping the Union intact. When Abraham Lincoln was elected, it was the final catalyst for the South to secede, but the division wasn't solely based on slavery. Abraham Lincoln's position on slavery was nuanced. While he is often remembered as the great emancipator, his primary concern was preserving the Union, not necessarily ending slavery from the start. In fact, Lincoln initially proposed policies to keep slavery where it existed, hoping to appease the South and avoid war. But as the war dragged on and the Northern Army gained momentum, ending slavery became a strategic goal, and the Emancipation Proclamation was issued in 1863. This was not just an act of moral righteousness. It was also a military and political maneuver that weakened the South by removing its primary labor force. After the war ended, the Reconstruction era began, aiming to rebuild the South and integrate former Confederate states back into the Union. However, this period was fraught with political tension, racism, and violence. While the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments abolished slavery and granted civil rights, the reality of racial equality was still far from being achieved. White supremacy continued to flourish, and many of the Southern states implemented Jim Crow laws that enforced racial segregation. Reconstruction failed to live up to its promises, leaving the South and its African American population in a difficult, unresolved state.